Assalamu alaikum friends, I hope you all are fine and are in good health. So the topic that I have selected for today is dynamic routing using the protocol, and the dynamic protocol that I'm going to show you today is EIGRP. So let's start with our today's practical. Let's open CISCO packet tracer and start with our practical. First of all, I will place 29114 routers. Simply click on the router and then click on your workspace. So let's make a small network. Here we have placed 4 routers. Now let's place the end devices. I am going to use simple PCs, one PC with each router. In my last lectures, I have shown you how to do the routing by using static routes. But you know that static routing is a little bit hectic and it takes a lot of time, because you have to assign IP addresses, then you have to give the routes of all the routes in the routers in order to route the packet from one end to another end. But as compared, if we use the protocols, just like in last lecture I have used RIP protocol and now I am using EIGRP protocol, they actually ease out our task. That we just simply have to give the paths, no need to give the whole path of all the end devices. We just give the paths of directly connected devices, obviously, which is very much suitable for large network, and it saves our time and become a little bit easy, and obviously appears to be more practical because of its suitability. So this is our network on which we are going to work today, and first let's assign the IP addresses. I have told you before that for each router interface we have to give a different subnet. So I am going to use 1.0.0.0 network here, 2.0.0.0 network here, 3.0.0.0 network here, 4.0.0.0 network here, and here I am going to use 5.0.0, 6.0.0.0, and then comes 7.0.0.0, and okay, you need to make sure that you use different subnets at different router interfaces. Only then the network is going to work. So let's assign the IP addresses first. First of all, open this router 1, go to CLI. Obviously no. Okay, so enable and conf t. Now we are in working mode. So first of all, what I am going to do is assign the IP address, but before assigning the IP address, obviously I have to enter into that interface. So the first interface is gig 0 by 0. So interface gig 0 by 0. Here we have entered in the interface. Let's assign the IP address. IP address 1.0.0. Let's assign it 1. And next what I have to give is its mask, and the network mask will be 255.0.0.0. So we are good to go. Now let's do no shut so that this interface can be up. Do right. Okay, and let's do exit so that we are out from this interface. Okay, now interface gig 0 by 1 and assign IP address. Obviously this is interface gig 0 by 1, so IP address will be from to subnet 2.0.0.1, and let's assign the IP address 255.0.0.0. no shut. Now the interface is in working mode. Exit. Okay, now the last interface for this router is interface gig 0 by 2 and IP address is 8.0.0.1 and 255.0.0.0 and no shut. No shut is a very important command in order to get the router in a working mode. Exit and do right. So we are done with it. Let's close it and similarly go to next router, route number 2. Now enable and conf t we have entered in privilege mode, and similarly as we have done in first router we will assign the IP addresses. So interface gig 0 by 1 and this is a subnet of 2.0.0. Previously I have assigned the IP address 2.0.0.1, so here I am going to assign 2.0.0.2 and the subnet mask will be same. So no shut and do right. Okay, now exit and let's enter in next interface, interface gig 0 by 0 and IP address here will be 3.0.0.1. okay, no shut and exit. Okay, now let's enter in the next interface, interface gig 0 by 2 IP address 4.0.0.1 and 255.0.0.0. so no shut and exit. So let's do write it and close it. Okay, now going towards our third router and similarly quickly assign the IP addresses to these also. Enable and conf t we have entered in privilege mode. Now interface gig 0 by 2 IP address 8.0.0.2 255.0.0.0 and next what I'm going to do is no shut and exit. Okay, next interface is interface gig 0 by 0 IP address. What will be the IP address? 7.0.0.1 and 255.0.0.0. okay, no shut and exit. Okay, and the last interface is interface gig 0 by 1. If you click the upper arrow keys you can get the last command you have typed and here you can make the changes. It saves your time and gives you a more easy path. Okay, exit and do right. Okay, so we have assigned the IP addresses to all the three interfaces. Next, coming towards the last router, so no and enable conf t. We are in privilege mode. So first of all, interface gig 0 by 2 and IP address will be 4.0.0.2. because I have already assigned 4.0.0.1 to gig 0 by 2 of the router 1. Okay, so 255.0.0.0, and next is no shut. Okay, exit. Now let's enter in interface gig 0 by 1, and IP address will be 6.0.0.2 and 255.0.0.0. no shut and do write. Okay, exit. Interface, last interface is gig 0 by 0 of router 3, and IP address will be 5.0.0.1 255.0.0.0, and no shut, exit, and do write. So here we are done with it. Now let's assign the IP addresses to pieces. We have 4 pieces: desktop, IP configuration, and here the IP address. Obviously I have assigned 1.0.0.1 to the router's interface, so I will assign 1.0.0.254. Subnet mask will be automatically assigned default gateway. Okay, as I have already told you in my previous lecture, the default gateway is always the IP address that has been assigned to it, to the interface of the router with which this end device is connected. So here it is connected with gig 0 by 0, so the IP address that I assigned to gig 0 by 0 is this, so it will become default gateway. Okay, now let's coming towards this PC. Similarly, desktop, IP configuration, and IP address I'm going to assign is 3.0.0.254, and subnet mask will be automatically assigned, and default gateway will again be 3.0.0.1. So we are good with it. Okay, now let's go with PC1, and again let's quickly assign it 7.0.0.254 subnet mask, and default gateway will be of gig, IP address assigned to gig 0 by 0, which was 7.0.0.1. So let's close it and move towards last PC. Desktop IP address I'm going to assign is 5.0.0.254. You can assign any IP address from this subnet. So 5.0.0.1 will be its default gateway. So till here we are good with, I have assigned IPs to all the PCs, I have assigned IPs to all the router interfaces. Now what we have to do is to enable EIGRP in each router. So let's go with the first router. Okay, what you simply have to do is router EIGRP and question mark. Here it has given us the numbers: autonomous system number, any IP address with which the network will be identified. So let's assign any number. Right now I am going to assign is 100. Okay, now the command, and a very useful command for this practical is do show IP route connected. As soon as you will type this command here, it has shown that what are the routes that are directly connected with this router. Now there are 3 routes that are directly connected, 3 networks, or you can say the 3 subnets that are working on this router is 1.0.0, 2.0.0 and 8.0.0. So now simply we will enter these networks so that router can work. Simply what we are going to do is network, what is the IP? 1.0. okay, make sure that here we enter the IP of the network, not the IP that has been assigned to that interface. So 1.0.0.0. okay, in our previous practicals we have been assigning here the subnet mask. but in EIGRP we give the wildcard mask. Okay, so what will be its wildcard mask? 1.0.0.0. so wildcard mask will be 0.255.255.255. How do we calculate the wildcard mask? Simply subnet mask is subtracted from 255.255.255.255, which will obviously give 0.255.255.255. So here we have given the first network. Now similarly give the second network, and similarly give the third network, which is 8, and we are good to go. And you must write no auto summary. And what is the significance of this command is that it will not group all the network. Rather, this no auto summary command has given the instruction to this router that deal these 3 networks separately, don't group them. So no auto summary, and we are good to go. Okay, exit and do write. Similarly, go to router 1 and perform the same things here. Router EIGRP 100 and do show IP route connected, and here we are going to use network 2.0.0.0 0.255.255.255 and enter. Okay, new agency has been formed. Okay, similarly enter all the networks that have been shown by the command, and similarly no auto summary. Okay, exit and do write. Similarly perform the same thing in router 2. Let's quickly do it so that we can also test our network. Okay, so router, there are only few commands in this practical which you need to memorize it in order to get a fully working network. So do show IP route connected and network. So the first network is 6.0. okay, you just have to remember that here we have to give wildcard mask, not the subnet mask. And how we calculate the wildcard mask? Simply subtract the subnet mask from all ones. All ones means 255.255.255.255, and you will get the wildcard mask. Okay, no auto summary is a must command here. If you will not write no auto summary, then it will treat that as if all the 3 networks that I have given are of the same network, and it will group them up. Okay, coming towards our last router EIGRP 100. Do show IP route connected and simply write network 4.0.0.0 and giving the wildcard mask. Simply just press on the upward arrow key and change the number. It saves a lot of time because it gives you the previous command that you have typed. Okay, no auto summary, and let's exit and do it. So you have seen the practical is very small. The practical was very small. We have done all the coding, and it has saved us from a lot of time. So now what we have to do is just to check the network. So how we are going to check it, test it? I have told you already the two ways. First one is simply by sending the packets. Okay, the first method, when you send the packets, it take it take a time to build the router table, so it might give you network failure for the first 2 to 3 attempts, in the first few attempts, but after 4th or 5th attempt it will be fine. Let's check how. Okay, for example, I'm going to send the packet from PC1 to, let's send it to PC0. Okay, here it has shown failed, but now let's try it again. It's our second time and it has given us successful. Here you can see it. Okay, now let's send the packet from PC1 to PC2. It will again gonna give us fail. So let's send us again, and it has given us successful, because obviously it takes a lot of time in a network to build the adjacencies, to build the router table. So okay, let's send another packet from PC0 to PC3, and you have seen it's failed. Let's send it again, PC0 to PC3, and it's successful. Similarly, you can send from any network, and you will see that after first 1 or 2 or 3 attempts you will get the working network. So PC2 to PC1, here it has given successful. Look, now adjacencies have been formed, so it is directly giving us a success. Okay, this is the first way. What could be the second way? As I have told you before, that you can simply go to PC, and here you have to go to command prompt, and after entering the command prompt, here you can check. What you can do is you can ping a network. So let's ping any PC. I am going to ping here this PC connected with router 3, which is PC3. The IP address I assigned to it was 5.0.0.254. So here you can see that it is getting a reply. Once we are getting a reply, I have received all the 4 packets back. That means my network is working perfectly fine. Here, if it had given us any error or we have not received the reply, then obviously there must be some problem with our network. So right now we are done with it, and this is all about today's practical. You have seen the dynamic routing is very easy because it involves the use of the protocols that have been designed. All the working has been done in this protocol. You just need to do the 3 steps. That is, first assign the IP addresses to the routers, assign the IP addresses to the end devices, and then simply configure the EIGRP routing protocol. And it is the most easiest. Why? Because while assigning this coding this EIGRP routing protocol on a single router, we just have to assign the directly connected IP addresses. We don't have to go with what are the IP addresses of the other networks. No, we are just concerned with that router on which we are working. So friends, this is all about today's lecture. I hope you have liked it, and it will make your work quite easy. So if you have liked my video, please subscribe my channel in order to catch up the other videos that are going to come up. So stay tuned for next videos, and till then, bye bye.